So, I thought before bed I would do a video update. It's been a painful night. It's always painful, but more due to my lower back hurting a lot and not being able to move much. So, I'm laying down. Life of a Lyme. I've been working on educating people a lot lately about Lyme disease because recently in the news they talked about Rocky Mountain spotted fever, which is actually it's related to Lyme disease. There's a lot to Lyme disease that people don't really know. I was actually interacting with a reporter on Messenger today to tell him about Lyme disease and answer a few questions that he had about the Lyme group that I attend and other stuff. I'm not sure what he's going to do with the information. He did talk about going to his boss and informing him about what he's learned. So maybe there's a story in the making. I'm not too sure. I've also been semi-interacting with other people who were commenting on the story about the Rocky Mountain spotted fever and educating them and just helping them learn about this disease and what it does and just what you really wouldn't be told by many doctors, and because it's a very touchy subject. It's like a controversial debate that's still happening even though it's been over 40 years, and it's so weird how we still go based off of well, not me, but the doctors go based off of the CDC guidelines, even though they themselves don't really know about this disease, and it's basically costing a lot of people's lives, and there's so much that has been told out there that will be told someday, hopefully. People still get told that the bullseye rash is the more common thing to have, but in some cases, some people don't really remember a bullseye rash or being bit by a infected tick. And even though most doctors tell you that ticks are the only things that can transmit it, that actually isn't all the way true. Other insects can give it to you. For instance, mosquitoes, mites, fleas, flies, and so on can transmit it. It doesn't take up to 3 days, basically. It can actually be transmitted as soon as it bites you, because it actually goes through into your bloodstream. You can also be born with it. You can also get it from a blood transfusion. It's like a very common thing, more than most people actually get told, because Lyme disease ends up having more than over 300,000 people infected. The CDC guideline says 300,000 people are infected every year, but last year alone there was actually 1 million people who were infected with this disease. And unfortunately, there isn't enough coverage about it, even though last year they did find a new bacteria of Lyme disease, but that only stuck around for maybe a few days or hours, and then it was gone. So there's so much that's out there that needs to be told, but we need to have more advocates who are willing to talk about their life of battling Lyme disease or any of its co-infections, because there's over 300 plus different bacteria of Lyme, and there's over 300 plus different co-infections. I've been trying hard to share my story ever since we were got a diagnosis, and I've kind of stayed a little low now, though, because of feeling like not a lot of people really care or just don't really understand, because it's so difficult to know what this disease is and how it damages the body. For instance, in my situation, I have cardiac Lyme. I have supravascular tachycardia, which is something you're born with. And I have babesiosis, which is also known as babesia, which means that it is damaging my respiratory system. And I also have Bartonella, which is another co-infection of Lyme, which means that I have a biofilm inside my body, and it can multiply my cell wall. Well, it can manipulate my cell wall, and so much more. We're still learning about this disease ourselves, and we are hoping to just share my story and others out there. That way people can feel like there's people out there who can relate to them. I think that's all for now. Alright.